Hi guys, Finch here, and it's time to review one of the best Ryder Cups that I've ever seen. So I've got loads of stuff written down from the last few days. I've also got your questions to get through, but first of all, comment below, what do you think of this Ryder Cup? What do you think of the teams? What do you think of the performances, both on the European side and the US side? Make sure you comment below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well, and hit that like button. It's been one hell of an event. So the first thing to say, final scores, 17.5 to 10.5, after a day which started nervily for Europe in the singles today, but they managed to rally and secure the points at the right time, which really shifted the momentum. And then those last matches, pretty much every single European player came through, with the exception of Reed and Hatton. Reed actually managing to grab a win. Those first few matches, Thomas and McIlroy went down the last. McIlroy got a little bit unlucky plugging in the bunker on the right. I know he shouldn't have been there, but that was a little bit of a disappointing way to end that match, which was an absolute cracker. Then you had Casey and Koepka as well. That went all the way down the 18th. Webb Simpson, who had been playing really well all week, managed to beat Justin Rose. Justin Rose did look like he ran out a little bit of steam, but Webb Simpson just putted him to death today. Then Tony Finau actually beat Fleetwood 6-4, so he was the next point in the bag, and he's actually been playing pretty well all week. He's got a bit unlucky on occasions, and today he managed to hold some putts. And again, Fleetwood just ran out of steam. Mind you, the way he was running around after they won, maybe not. But then Rahm beats Woods. Massive win, and that outpouring of emotion on that green was unbelievable. Poulter beats the #1 player in the world, Dustin Johnson, and it's so strange that you would say that, you know what, yeah, that's to be expected. It's the Ryder Cup. What a crazy event this is. Thorbjorn Olesen, 5-4 victory over Jordan Spieth. He smashed it. Garcia became the all-time leading point scorer in the Ryder Cup, just surpassing Nick Faldo with his victory over Ricky Fowler. And you could just see how much it meant to him. And he has justified himself on this team, and we'll get onto the captain's picks in a moment. Molinari, who actually secured the winning point against Phil Mickelson after Mickelson hit it in the water. It's one of those things where that was actually a bit of a shame to end it that way, but then at the same time completely expected, because Mickelson was awful this week. And then just to round everything up, Noren actually holding that putt on the last to beat DeChambeau from about 50 foot across the green. Awesome. And one of the massive things to come out of this week is what an unbelievable venue Le Golf National was. I played it last year, and I thought then that it was going to be a great venue, but nothing like that. I mean, they toughened it up so much to reward the accurate hitting and to absolutely punish anyone offline. And that took quite a few of the American team by surprise, I think, because they just weren't used to having to hit irons off the tee. They wanted to hit driver everywhere, and that really punished them in the end. You saw Justin Thomas in that top match against McIlroy today. Off the tee, irons, fairway woods, only a few times actually used his driver. So that venue, I think, was one of the big winners from this week. The crowds, again, were just unbelievable. Certainly on the first day, there was that thing where there was a bit of booing going on, but today on that first tee, you could hear a few in the background, but mostly it was all cheering, it was all positive. Yes, it's partisan towards Europe, but there wasn't any of the nastiness, certainly, that we saw last 2 years ago. I wish it was every year. And remember, this Ryder Cup started with the US team looking so much stronger as far as strength and depth. They had a myriad of major winners in their team, and who were actually all playing well. So for them to actually lead after that first session on Friday, that was expected, and you kind of thought that they'd kick on. But no, absolutely not. I think that foursomes in the afternoon really set that trend, because they won all 4 matches Europe and really just took the US to task. And from then on, it did seem like the Europeans were in the ascendancy. And like I said, apart from a few nervy moments today, it looked like they were so comfortable out there. And let's get on to some of the questions that you guys have asked, because this does cover quite a little bit. This is from JR Smalls on Instagram. Looks like the European captain picks were way better than the US. Does this mean that accuracy over distance debate has more firepower? I think it's very relative to what was happening with the golf course. So Bjorn set this course up to be tight and tough, to reward a little bit of more accuracy rather than distance. And certainly when you have a look at some of the players on the US team, distance is their strength. But the thing is with the US team, they are long, but generally they are quite straight. They just didn't perform. And when you have a look at the captain's picks, there is absolutely no doubt that Bjorn won that little competition. Phil Mickelson, you've got to say, and got to question why he was there. Was it more of a sentimental pick? I don't know, but you could level that same sentimentality, if you want to look at it like that, against some of Bjorn's picks. You know, he picked Stenson, veteran of the competition, Garcia, veteran of the competition, Poulter, veteran of the competition. You know, these guys who really were on the peripheries of form, and yet they performed. They stepped up to the plate. And it has to be said that the American captain's picks just didn't. So a question here from 424 Golf. How good a result is this, considering it was the strongest US team ever based on world rankings? And again, it goes back to that thing, but not only were the US team the best on world rankings, they were the best on form. So that's one thing to remember. Form-wise, this was a great US team as well. The day is fading, it's getting light on in the background. But one thing to say about this is that the team spirit on the European side, it just seems stronger. Now, I don't know how much of that is just an outward portrayal, maybe, how they are presenting themselves, but the European team after the matches, some of them when they won points, they were almost in tears. It meant that much to them. They were so passionate about what they were actually doing, and that is something that you didn't really see from the US. And maybe it's just the fact that Europeans were playing well and actually winning points, but it has to be said that the European team seemed to want it just a lot more. Question here from Michael Richardson. What do you think the cause of the Americas' downfall was? What were the major contributions to the winning of the European team? I think if you're going to boil it down to just one thing, and you can't really do that, they were a lot more accurate off the tee, they hit a lot more fairways, didn't put themselves in as much trouble, and just hold more putts, because at the end of the day, that's a lot about what the Ryder Cup is actually about. And Tiger Woods, 4-0, lost every single match that he was involved in this Ryder Cup. And that is such a surprise. He came into this event really as a different player in many people's eyes. He was playing well, he just won the Tour Championship, and he seemed to be much more of a team player, but for whatever reason, he just looked miserable. And I know it's not easy to be super happy when you're not winning matches, but that fierceness, that competitiveness that we normally associate with Tiger, it just wasn't there. He looked tired. How's the dog feeling? Yeah, the dog on Instagram wasn't happy about the Ryder Cup being on this morning. I'm pretty sure he's a US supporter. He just couldn't even watch. Question here from Dylan Dawes. Who do you think stood out the most for each team? Best player. So you've got to be saying the Molinari and Fleetwood, definitely for the Europeans, and especially Molinari, he's won 5 points out of 5. And I think for the US team, Webb Simpson, he seemed to be the most fired up, and he definitely performed the best. So yeah, Webb. And a lot of people were saying before this event, and I think me included a little bit, felt that this was going to be the start of a long domination for the US team, because their team is relatively young. They've got some amazing players in there with many Ryder Cups to go, and we have quite a few veterans who could possibly play in their last event. Ryder Cup, not last event, no dramatic retirements here. However, you've got to say that certain players like Poulter, like Garcia, for this event, they just show up. And the fact is that for whatever reason in this event at the moment, the US do not seem to be producing that consistent performance. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in 2 years' time when it goes back to the States, and if Europe can actually retain that cup. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you comment below. Let me know what you thought about the event. Good things, bad things, positives for both teams. If there is any for the US, I'm not sure. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and follow me on my other social media platforms.